You've always been, to me, kind of like this quintessential telemaster. That is your bag. And now you've got your very own signature. Let's hear all about this bad boy.
Okay, well, this is the Reverend Gristlemaster,
right,
as we called it.
Love it.
And it started out actually is with Fishman. I started working with Fishman about 6 years ago on these electric guitar pickups, which is kind of a funny story because I'm one of these guys, if I get a guitar and it sounds good and the pickups are good,
right,
it's like we're done. It's
yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've always been like a very minimal guy, Telecaster chord, amp.
You know, I try to, and that's just because I'm lazy. But actually, if I like the way it sounds, we're done. So,
sure.
But the only difference is, of course, is what is that noiseless guitar that you're going to have that you're going to need to travel with because you don't know, especially I go to Europe and you're playing in some of these, establishments where
sure,
if you don't have a guitar that mitigates buzz and hellish frequencies and so on and so forth, you're going to be in trouble. So,
right.
So you've always had the guitar. I've always had the guitar that sounded good, but it wasn't my favorite guitar per se. But it just, it did the job because it was noise free.
Sure.
So when I got involved with Fishman, it kind of solved the problem that no, these are pickups I would prefer to use, and they're noiseless, and they have a little boost on them. So they kind of did what my dream pickup would do, and that was to look normal. I mean, you look at the neck pickup, there's nothing really that says, oh, there's something weird going on here. You see this little button here, but other than that, they look relatively, they look completely
totally normal,
traditional.
telly, yeah.
Right. But under the hood, there's all kinds of malfeasance. Fishman came up with this new circuit that allows you to basically voice pickups the way that you want, and you're able to get rid of 60 cycle hum and have a second voice. And, I don't lose any high end when I turn down the volume, which is something I always did to my traditional Fender instruments or Tellies or Strats or whatnot. You always had to put that treble beat because I always just wanted to be less loud. Crazy me.
Right. Yeah, that's very frustrating because you just want less and it changes everything and it's like, come on.
The only reason, I figured out, later in life, because of course I never listen to people when they talk. I have to figure it out for myself. I have to burn myself countless times to go, Eureka! But, only when you have like a power amp distortion where you're really diming an amp can you get away with the traditional volume pot that you don't lose any highs when you turn up. Yeah, that's fine, but 99% of the time you can't do that or else you deafen people. I think I was just deafening somebody here at soundcheck here and they were giving me the stink eye. But anyway, so under most circumstances you want a volume control that if you're using pedals or whatnot, you know what I mean? That you turn it down, you don't lose any highs. So the two different sounds that are on here, we went through we called it a black guard sound and a white guard sound, but one sound is real kind of open and chimey, like for instance on here, let me put the gain off here. Turn the volume down a little bit. Still has that telly squish, But I want a little bit more.
Are they active?
Well, this is the thing. It's like they go, well, they're not active. There is a battery in there. They're amplified.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell the difference is.
I don't know.
And I don't know if it matters.
But there's a battery involved. That's all I was asking.
There's a battery involved. I guess that means there's action afoot. Involving, there's a lithium-ion battery in here, and there's a little mini USB right underneath so you charge them up with the phone charger. And for an hour and a half charge, you get 300 hours of plugged-in playing time. So when I heard that,
I could do that.
I was like, you know what? And people are like, well, what happens if the battery runs out? I'm like, you know what? If at some point in your busy life of 300 hours, if you got a gig that lasts longer than 300 hours, there needs to be some talk with management.
The union needs to step in.
Exactly. And the thing is, I change my strings after every 3 gigs or so anyway. So if I've had the guitar sitting, I'm like, when did I plug that in last? Well, I'm just going to top it off. So I've never run out of gas at a gig.
So it's not changing a 9-volt, anything like that.
No.
Jazz. Because I hate doing that stuff.
That's
just me.
Yes.
That's just me.
So it is a little bit to think, I got to plug it in, but
that's not much.
It's not a whole lot. And so I get this little extra boost. So if I got this little button in between the volume and the tone. Right? And it does it for all 3 positions. Or in its back position. That's a lick I do every time I play this crap. I find
How could you not?
That's that damn thing. I just can't help it.
Yeah, see, if I could play that, I'd be playing it right now while we're talking. I just would.
You know what? My wife hates when I noodle like that. She's like, she wants to get T-shirts made. Actually, she had this meme that she made where it was like, you know, kind of like a medieval painting of a woman looking at this guy playing the lute. She goes, "My husband at gigs.
Yeah.
My husband around the house. She goes, if I hear you noodling one more time."
Yeah.
I love the gigs, but I hate the noodling. So
Yeah.
she's like, you know, she wanted to get T-shirts made, something to the effect of, "Stop your effing noodling." And
Sure.
Hashtag Guitar Widow.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that's the kind of little noodling I'll do where she'll be like, "Really? Is that necessary?" And I'll go, "Well, I guess not." And then
Well, she must be a very patient woman.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's a saint, as a matter of fact. Long-suffering guitar widow. But anyway, so those are the different sounds on the guitar.
Great. So when you get the system, it comes with this as well, like the whole,
that's
one-stop.
So that's what happened. So I had these pickups going, and obviously, I mean, I've had a long history with a certain guitar manufacturer of renown, but for whatever reason, that relationship just isn't fluid anymore. It's not really happening, and that's fine and well and good. I'm doing all the stuff with Wildwood. I'm actually still, playing all these different guitars in question.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And so I just got to be buddies with the guys from Reverend, and Ken Haas would come out to Wildwood and do videos, and he would bring different artists in, and we just always really got along great. And last year at Summer NAMM, I got one of the Pete Anderson Eastsider guitars, and he popped these pickups in, and it sounded freaking awesome.
Right, yeah.
And I compared it to another guitar that I had that was several $1,000s more expensive, and I thought, there's not a several $1,000 difference in these two.
Right.
And I just started, and then at the same time, he's like, no pressure, but, Joe Naylor and I were talking, if you ever want to do anything, we'd be interested in, maybe sussing it out. I said, well, I appreciate that. He goes, nope, we'll always be buddies, so if it doesn't work out, whatever. And I said, no problem. So then I actually went out to Toledo to do some videos for Ken. Ken and Penny brought me in to just do like a kind of a fun thing. Ken and I are kind of the same height.
Sure.
We're both Midwestern boys, so we have kind of a similar disposition. And I played a bunch of their different guitars, and I started thinking, it's like, boy, for the cost of what it would cost me to buy something custom shoppy from some other manufacturers,
right.
I could walk out of here with about 5 of these guitars, and they're totally ergonomically geeked out with cool, vintagey but yet totally usable stuff on them. So then the gears started flowing, and I said, Ken, big fella, I started thinking about this guitar stuff you were talking about. I always wanted a Tele a Tele style body that was slightly larger. Even back in the day when I was doing the Fender thing, I was like, look, I'm 6'7". Anytime I'm playing a guitar, people are going, is that a ukulele on you? I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, a Lilliputian? No, I don't play basketball. Are you a jockey? I'm tired of it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want anything so big that it would turn people off that weren't, mutants.
Yeah.
So this is only like 2 or 3% larger on all sides.
I didn't even notice. I think probably because scale. You're
right.
A
I mean,
big dude.
it fits in a regular guitar case. It's not like it prevents you from doing the things that you want to do.
Right.
But and then one of the things that we did is that Joe suggested this kind of elevated, because I have this cool guitar this buddy of mine made for me from Ventura County Guitars. He made me this. It's kind of a Tele, but it's a Firebird body with a bolt-on Tele neck with Tele controls with a Johnny Winter neck pickup in it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And so Joe Naylor saw that guitar and he's like, well, what if we did an elevated middle section on your guitar? And I was like, that looks badass.
Yeah.
And plus it also functions as, so the height of what that middle section is actually the traditional width of a body style like this, so everything else is recessed. So it actually serves as a little bit of weight relief as well. So all of these guitars are a little over 7 pounds.
Oh, that's amazing for that you're like kind of in the sweet spot for a normal size Tele.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so yes, they come with the pickups. So and it's a Carina body. So I've always harped up for years about. I'm always ash and maple. Well, kind of Reverend's whole thing is that all the guitars are made out of Carina.
Really?
And so when I played,
I've got I have a Reverend. I had no idea.
And so tone-wise, of course, there's spirited discussions on the inner Google of
Yeah.
people going, tone woods have nothing to do with the guitar, and people start getting in fight. I think
Sure.
the people that fight about the stuff are living in their parents' basements.
Totally.
At their computer,
Yeah. You know who you are.
They got their
You're there
Scooby-Doo
right now.
jammies on. They got peanut butter all over their face. Mom, lasagna. You know what I mean? And they're going, there's no difference in the woods. And I've played a lot of different guitars, and I notice a difference.
Sure.
Call me crazy. And so in the spectrum of tone woods, I would say, ash, brighter, alder, not so much, Carina somewhere in between there.
Huh. Cool.
And, so it sounds great. And then it's a roasted maple neck. The roasted maple neck on the Pete Anderson I really liked, and I liked the 10 to 14 inch radius. 6105 frets. I dig all of that.
Kind of the big boys, right?
They are. They're tall. They're not not wide. And I want just a little bit more meat on the neck.
Right.
So it's a little beefier, but not as beefy as some of the other necks I've used in the past.
And one extra fret from your old telly, right?
Yeah, because I always, and there's people that talk about that. Oh, you can't do that. It's heresy. It's like, you know what? Sometimes I'm in the key of B and I want to go.
Right. I kind of
want
that
It's
note.
not wrong, John.
Yeah.
It's not wrong. And if it's wrong, I don't want to be right.
Right. Yeah.
So it's nice to have that extra fret so that, the key of B is fair game for any kind of malfeasance
Sure,
that you may want
sure.
to indulge in. And then it's got the locking tuners, which of course
Love
I dig.
that. Yeah.
So this is
and
actually
the binding I dig. That's just kind of a fun little bit.
absolutely. So I love them, and price-wise, I mean they're very, very reasonable.